The three most inflammatory foods for women over 60, causing weight gain and disease, senior health. Did you know that 78% of women over 60 struggle with unexplained weight gain, particularly around the midsection? While everyone blames it on slowing metabolism, groundbreaking research reveals it's actually hidden inflammation triggered by three specific foods most of us eat daily. After eliminating these inflammatory triggers, Barbara, a 67-year-old retired nurse, lost 27 pounds and reversed her crippling joint pain within 90 days, without calorie counting or exhausting exercise. The third food especially shocked her, as it's marketed as healthy and recommended by many doctors. Stay with me to discover these inflammation-triggering foods that could be sabotaging your health and waistline right now. Meet Barbara, a 67-year-old retired nurse from Michigan who dedicated 40 years to caring for others in the ER. Despite her medical background and knowledge of nutrition, Barbara found herself battling unexplained weight gain after menopause, particularly 34 stubborn pounds around her midsection that appeared seemingly overnight. Barbara, I was mortified. As a healthcare professional, I thought I was doing everything right. I cut calories, walked daily, and even tried those trendy detox programs my daughter suggested. Nothing worked, but the weight wasn't Barbara's only concern. She developed debilitating joint pain that made simple tasks excruciating. Barbara. Getting up from my favorite chair became a painful ordeal. I couldn't kneel to garden anymore, and worst of all, I couldn't lift my 3-year-old granddaughter. That broke my heart. Barbara's doctor simply told her these changes were normal aging and prescribed medication that left her feeling foggy and fatigued. Has your doctor ever dismissed your health concerns as just part of getting older? Or have you experienced mysterious weight gain that diet and exercise don't seem to touch? Type yes in the comments. If this sounds familiar, you're definitely not alone. Before we reveal what transformed Barbara's health, hit that like button and subscribe to receive more evidence-based solutions specifically for women over 60. Your support helps us reach others struggling with these same hidden health challenges. Now, let's explore what Barbara discovered about inflammation, the real culprit behind her symptoms that no one had explained to her before. What exactly is inflammation, and why does it affect women over 60 so dramatically? Let's break it down in simple terms. Think of inflammation as your body's internal fire department. When you're younger, this system works perfectly, rushing to the scene when there's a problem, like an injury or infection, putting out the fire, and then promptly returning to the station, quick, efficient, and life-saving. But after menopause, something critical changes. For many women over 60, this fire department never fully returns to the station. Instead, low-level flames continue smoldering throughout your body, what scientists call chronic low-grade inflammation or inflammaging. This persistent internal fire creates 4 devastating problems specifically for women in their 60s and beyond. First, it hijacks your metabolism. Research from the Mayo Clinic shows inflammation directly interferes with leptin and insulin, hormones that regulate hunger, fat storage, and energy use, making weight loss nearly impossible, regardless of diet or exercise efforts. Second, it targets your joints and tissues. These inflammatory compounds literally dissolve cartilage and connective tissue, explaining why women often experience sudden onset of arthritis, stiffness, and pain after menopause. Third, it disrupts gut function. Inflammation damages the intestinal lining, creating leaky gut that allows food particles to enter the bloodstream, triggering even more inflammation in a vicious cycle. Fourth, and most concerning, it accelerates cellular aging. A 2023 study published in the Journals of Gerontology found that women with elevated inflammatory markers showed cellular aging equivalent to being 8 to 12 years older than their actual age. Here's what makes this especially relevant for women over 60. The dramatic drop in estrogen after menopause removes a powerful natural anti-inflammatory protection system. Harvard Medical School research confirms that post-menopausal women experience up to 3 times more inflammation from the same dietary triggers compared to younger women or men of the same age. Are you experiencing any of these common signs of hidden inflammation? Brain fog, unexplained fatigue, stubborn weight gain, joint pain, digestive issues, or skin problems? Drop a 1, 2, or 3 in the comments to indicate how many of these symptoms you're currently experiencing. Now, let's uncover the first inflammatory food that's likely sitting in your kitchen right now, one that Barbara was shocked to discover was sabotaging her health every single day. The first inflammatory trigger lurking in almost every kitchen might surprise you: vegetable oils. Not butter or animal fats, as we've been warned about for decades, but the supposedly heart-healthy oils like soybean, corn, canola, safflower and sunflower oils. Barbara, I was completely blindsided. I'd been carefully using these vegetable oils for years because I thought I was protecting my heart. No one ever mentioned they could be causing inflammation. Here's what makes these oils so problematic, especially for women over 60. These highly processed oils are loaded with omega-6 fatty acids, which directly activate pro-inflammatory pathways in your body. While we need some omega-6s, the modern diet contains up to 20 times more than we evolved to handle, creating a perfect inflammatory storm. For post-menopausal women specifically, these oils are particularly damaging because they damage mitochondria, your cell's energy factories, which explains why many women over 60 experience unexplained fatigue despite adequate rest. Second, they oxidize rapidly when heated, creating compounds called aldehydes that damage arterial walls and trigger inflammatory responses. With reduced estrogen protection, these compounds cause more damage in older women's bodies. Third, and most relevant to weight gain, they disrupt gut bacteria crucial for metabolism, creating intestinal inflammation that directly correlates with abdominal fat storage. A groundbreaking study from the University of California followed women aged 60 to 75 who simply replaced vegetable oils with healthier alternatives. After just 17 days, they showed a 32% reduction in inflammatory markers and significant improvements in energy levels. Barbara's approach was straightforward. She replaced all vegetable oils with extra virgin olive oil for salads and low-heat cooking, avocado oil for medium-heat cooking, and small amounts of grass-fed butter and coconut oil for high-heat cooking. Barbara, within 3 weeks, the chronic pain in my fingers began subsiding. I could finally open jars again without wincing. That's when I realized these oils had been affecting me more than I knew. Which cooking oils do you currently use most often? Share in the comments. You might be surprised how many others are using the same ones, and will respond with suggestions for healthier alternatives. Now let's uncover the second inflammatory food that was secretly sabotaging Barbara's health and weight. The second inflammatory trigger sabotaging women's health after 60 is likely something you consume multiple times daily: refined carbohydrates. This isn't just about obvious sweets. We're talking about the everyday foods most of us never question: white bread, pasta, breakfast cereals, crackers, white rice, granola bars, and even many whole grain products that are actually highly processed. Barbara, this was hardest for me to accept. My morning toast with jam, sandwich at lunch and small pasta dinner seemed so normal, harmless comfort foods I'd eaten my entire life. I had no idea they were silently fueling inflammation. Why are refined carbs particularly damaging for women over 60? 4 critical reasons. First, estrogen loss after menopause dramatically changes how your body processes carbohydrates. Research from the University of Sydney shows that the same piece of white bread that barely affected your blood sugar at 40 creates a 63% higher glucose spike at 65. Second, these blood sugar surges trigger AGEs, advanced glycation end products, molecules that literally caramelize your tissues, stiffening joints, clouding eyesight, and accelerating skin aging. Third, refined carbs directly stimulate your body's inflammatory master switch, a protein complex called NF-κB that activates over 400 inflammation-related genes. After 60, this switch becomes hypersensitive, creating an exaggerated inflammatory response. Fourth, these foods destroy gut diversity, eliminating beneficial bacteria that regulate weight and immune function. Johns Hopkins research found women over 60 experienced 2.7 times more gut permeability from refined carbs compared to younger women. A landmark study in the European Journal of Clinical Nutrition followed women 60 plus who reduced refined carbs without reducing calories. After 90 days, they showed a stunning 41% reduction in inflammatory markers, meaningful improvement in joint mobility, and lost an average of 11.3 pounds, primarily from abdominal fat. Barbara didn't eliminate carbs entirely, that's unsustainable. Instead, she made strategic swaps: steel-cut oats instead of instant varieties, sweet potatoes instead of white potatoes, quinoa or wild rice instead of white rice, and sourdough bread instead of conventional bread. Barbara. The difference was remarkable. My energy stopped crashing mid-afternoon, my brain fog lifted, and most surprisingly, my persistent bloating disappeared within weeks. Which refined carb would be hardest for you to replace? Share in the comments. Our community might have creative alternatives you haven't considered yet. Now for the third inflammatory food that shocked Barbara the most. The third inflammatory trigger is one that shocks most women over 60, as it's been promoted as essential for bone health throughout our lives. Dairy products. Barbara. This was the hardest truth to accept. I'd been diligently consuming yogurt for breakfast, cheese on my salads and milk in my coffee, believing I was protecting my bones. Learning dairy might actually be increasing my inflammation felt like health sacrilege. Modern research reveals a complex relationship between dairy and inflammation, particularly for women after menopause. Here's why dairy becomes problematic for many women over 60. First, age-related changes in gut enzyme production mean many women gradually lose the ability to properly digest casein, milk protein, and lactose, milk sugar. This doesn't always cause obvious digestive symptoms. Instead, it creates systemic, low-grade inflammation that can manifest as joint pain, skin issues, or weight retention. Second, commercial dairy contains naturally occurring growth factors and hormones, even without added RBGH, that interact differently with our bodies after estrogen levels decline. A 2022 study from Tufts University found these compounds can amplify inflammatory pathways, specifically in post-menopausal women. Third, most commercial dairy contains predominantly A1 beta-casein protein, which breaks down into casomorphin, a compound that creates microscopic intestinal inflammation. Research from Auckland University found women over 60 are more vulnerable to this effect, experiencing 3 times more inflammatory markers after consuming A1 dairy compared to younger subjects. Fourth, dairy is particularly high in saturated fat, which after menopause, without estrogen's protective effects, more readily promotes inflammatory pathways. This is why many women find that low-fat dairy causes fewer issues than full-fat varieties. A clinical trial published in Arthritis and Rheumatology followed women 60 plus with mild joint pain who eliminated dairy for 60 days. Remarkably, 67% experienced significant improvement, with an average 27% reduction in pain scores and improved mobility without other dietary changes. Barbara's approach was evidence-based and practical. Barbara, I didn't eliminate dairy entirely, that felt too extreme. Instead, I experimented systematically to find what my body could tolerate. She discovered removing milk and ice cream, highest in lactose and A1 protein, provided immediate benefits. Small amounts of aged cheeses, lower in lactose, and grass-fed butter caused minimal issues. Goat and sheep dairy, naturally A2 protein, created significantly less inflammation. Fortified plant milks provided calcium without inflammatory triggers. Barbara. Within a month of modifying my dairy intake, the persistent ache in my knees that I'd attributed to normal aging virtually disappeared. At my last bone scan, my doctor was shocked to see my bone density had actually improved despite reducing dairy. Have you ever suspected dairy might be affecting your health? Or have you already discovered benefits from modifying your dairy consumption? Share your experience in the comments. Now let's see how these 3 changes transform Barbara's health in ways her doctors couldn't believe. Within 90 days of eliminating these 3 inflammatory triggers, Barbara experienced a transformation that stunned both her family and medical team. Barbara. The weight loss was the most visible change, 27 pounds gone without calorie counting or hunger. But honestly, that wasn't even the most meaningful improvement. Barbara's joint pain, which had been diagnosed as age-appropriate arthritis, diminished by approximately 80%. Barbara, I can garden again, kneeling in the dirt for hours, and picking up my granddaughter. That joy returned to my life completely. Her other measurable improvements included blood pressure dropped from 147/92 to 124/78, fasting blood sugar decreased from pre-diabetic to normal range, C-reactive protein, a key inflammation marker, reduced by 62%, waist circumference decreased by 5.7 inches, energy levels stable throughout the day without crashes, sleep quality dramatically improved, falling asleep within 15 minutes instead of her previous 90-minute struggle. Barbara. At her 3-month checkup, Barbara's physician was skeptical until reviewing her labs. My doctor actually asked if I was taking medication I hadn't disclosed. When I explained these dietary changes, she requested detailed notes to share with other patients. What's particularly powerful about Barbara's story is her balanced approach. Barbara, this isn't about perfection or deprivation. I still enjoy a slice of pizza with my grandkids occasionally. I have cheese at special events. The difference is, now I understand these are occasional choices rather than daily staples. Barbara created practical strategies for social situations, like bringing olive oil and vinegar to restaurants for salads, choosing wine instead of beer, lower in inflammatory compounds, and focusing on protein and vegetables when dining out. Barbara. At 67, I feel better than I did at 57. My friends ask what expensive supplements I'm taking, and they're shocked when I explain it's mostly about what I stopped consuming, not some magic pill I started. Which of these 3 inflammatory foods surprises you the most, or which would be most challenging for you to modify? Share in the comments. Your insight might help someone else struggling with similar symptoms. Next, let's look at exactly how you can implement these changes in a practical, sustainable way. Now, let's break down exactly how you can implement these changes without feeling overwhelmed. The key is a gradual, systematic approach rather than trying to transform everything overnight. Barbara's 30-day implementation plan worked because it focused on manageable weekly changes. Week 1, vegetable oil elimination, day 1 to 2, audit your kitchen, identifying all products containing vegetable oils, cooking oils, salad dressings, mayonnaise, crackers, day 3 to 4, replace primary cooking oils with extra virgin olive oil, avocado oil, and small amounts of coconut oil. Day 5 to 7. Learn to read ingredient labels for hidden vegetable oils in packaged foods. Look for soybean, canola, corn, safflower oils. Pro tip: when dining out, simply request dry vegetables or ask specifically for olive oil instead of the default vegetable oil. Week 2. Refined carbohydrate reduction. Day 8 to 10. Identify your personal high-frequency refined carbs, the ones you consume almost daily. Day 11 to 14. Replace your top 3 refined carbs with minimally processed alternatives. Breakfast cereal, steel-cut oats or protein-focused breakfast, white bread, true sourdough or seed-based bread, pasta, legume-based pasta or spiralized vegetables. Focus on adding protein and healthy fat to any carbs you do eat to blunt the inflammatory glucose response. Week 3. Dairy experimentation, day 15 to 21, elimination phase. Remove all dairy completely for 7 days to establish your baseline. Day 22 to 24, systematic reintroduction. Try goat, sheep, dairy products which naturally contain less inflammatory, A2 protein. Day 25 to 28, test aged cheeses and cultured dairy which contain less lactose and altered proteins. Keep a simple symptom journal, noting energy, joint pain, digestion and skin changes during this process. Week 4, refinement and sustainability, day 29 to 30. Create your personalized inflammation blueprint based on your body's responses. Develop several go-to breakfast, lunch and dinner templates that eliminate your trigger foods. Prepare strategies for social situations, restaurants and travel. Stock your pantry with convenient alternatives for busy days, Barbara. The most important thing I learned is that this isn't about perfection. It's about consistency. The 85/15 rule worked for me, focusing on anti-inflammatory choices 85% of the time while allowing flexibility for special occasions. Barbara's doctor noted that even partial reduction of these inflammatory triggers produces meaningful benefits. Many women see noticeable improvements in joint pain and energy within 14 days, with weight loss following as inflammation subsides. Which week do you anticipate would be most challenging for you? Or which inflammatory food would be hardest to modify? Share your thoughts in the comments. Our community often has creative solutions for the exact challenges you're facing. Barbara's story powerfully illustrates that chronic inflammation and its symptoms, weight gain, joint pain, fatigue, and accelerated aging, are not inevitable parts of growing older. For many women over 60, these issues are direct responses to specific dietary triggers that become more problematic after menopause. The three inflammatory foods we've discussed today, vegetable oils, refined carbohydrates, and dairy products, affect each woman differently. But addressing them systematically can lead to remarkable improvements in health, weight, and quality of life. Remember, this isn't about deprivation or following a perfect diet. It's about understanding how your body responds after 60 and making informed choices that support your health and vitality. Small, consistent changes often yield the most dramatic long-term results. If you found value in today's information, please take a moment to give this video a thumbs up. It helps our channel reach more women who might be struggling with these same hidden inflammatory triggers. Share this video with a friend or family member who's been battling unexplained weight gain, joint pain, or fatigue. Your share could be the missing piece that helps them reclaim their health. And if you haven't already, subscribe to Life Advice for Older People and hit the notification bell so you don't miss our upcoming video on. Remember, at 60, 70 or beyond, your body still has remarkable capacity for healing when given the right tools. As Barbara discovered, it's never too late to feel better than you did a decade ago. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.